We have multiple surprising Toronto Blue Jays updates to go over today as it pertains to both injuries as well as the Jays pitching plans following some brutal injury luck to start the season. We're going to break down these new reports and discuss what they mean going forward, as well as discuss some other injury updates surrounding a couple of key Jays players. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, and thank you guys for that as we're on the road to 17,000 subscribers. And a quick reminder, we will have a video following tonight's game against the Washington Nationals, and it's going to be an interesting game. José Berríos going up today. But there's a lot of talk about injuries that have started the Blue Jays season, and obviously the starting pitching staff has been a huge discussion point for this team. One of the big question marks following Max Scherzer going down with an injury is how the Jays are going to hold up regarding their fifth starter spot, which is now technically the third starter spot, which has now been, of course, moved a little bit to the fifth starter spot with Max Scherzer going down. And we have some updates. So John Schneider came out following the game yesterday and gave a pretty important update. It said that Easton Lucas starting Wednesday is their plan A for now. If tomorrow, which is today, gets messy and he has the pitch, it'll change. But Lucas on Wednesday is clearly the likeliest outcome here. And this is a little bit of a surprise. Now, they mentioned it in the broadcast a little bit about how the Toronto Blue Jays might be more comfortable going with Easton Lucas starting tomorrow simply because of the fact that A, it's not against the New York Mets, and B, of course, they'll be at home at the Rogers Center. And this makes a ton of sense. Now, what this means is that Kevin Gausman is getting pushed with extra rest to Friday to start against the New York Mets. And I actually like this decision a lot. And Easton Lucas, he has some upside. We've covered it on the channel before. I'm not saying, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be a fantastic, starting pitcher, but if he can give you 4 innings, 5 innings against the Washington Nationals of just solid ball, 3 runs in 4 or 5 innings would honestly be plenty, especially with the way that this offense has been going, then you'd be happy with that. But what this means for Kevin Gausman is that starting Lucas on Wednesday, it slides Gausman extra rest to Friday versus the Nets. Certainly makes the most sense from his matchup standpoint. And with the off day Thursday, the Blue Jays should be able to unload the bullpen, assuming José Berríos bounces back today, that is. And obviously, today, José Berríos, you're going up against a very interesting Washington Nationals team. Their offense isn't fantastic. And of course, Mackenzie Gore is starting tomorrow against Kevin Gausman. So that's going to be realistically ace versus ace. I still consider Kevin Gausman the Jays ace, but regardless of that, tomorrow's going to be an interesting matchup, and that's also going to factor into how the Jays play their lineup today, because Gore, of course, the lefty. Tomorrow, you might see a Miles Straw start. You might see a Davis Schneider start. So tonight, I would assume you're going to get some Alan Roden and a lot of the lefties in there. It's going to be interesting on that front, but you're giving Gausman extra rest. And I think, again, April is the hardest month of the year for the Jays. April and September, I believe it is. So with April and September being the hardest months, you need to get through this month with as many wins as you can. And we know, thinking back to the 2021 year when they missed out at the playoffs by 1 game, all these different things, these wins now in April and March mean just as much as they do in September as it pertains to a very tight AL East, because a lot of teams are playing well. The New York Yankees, and the AL East right now is off to a fantastic start. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on starting Lucas tomorrow, assuming things go well. Now, obviously, if Kevin Gausman or if José Berríos goes 2 innings like he did on opening day, and he tends to do, then of course Easton Lucas will probably be shifted a little bit back. If he has to pitch today, he probably wouldn't start on Wednesday. They'd maybe keep Gausman and then have somebody else, maybe Yariel, start on Friday. But you look at this starting rotation now. Again, it's Berríos, Gausman, Bassett, Francis. The bullpen is the early relief is the biggest problem for this team. Now, Easton Lucas, you factor him into the starting rotation. You still have Mason Flaherty, who's yet to make his major league debut, even though he's warmed up twice in 2 games for the Jays, one against the Orioles, one yesterday against the Nationals. But I don't mind the way that the starting rotation is shaping up. You obviously have Berríos, Gausman, Bassett, Francis, Easton Lucas / Yariel Rodriguez. And as it pertains to the bullpen tonight, Jeff Hoffman is going to be ready to go. Jimmy Garcia might be ready to go. Chad Green is available. Nick Sandlin is available. Like Brendan Little, probably not. And maybe Jimmy Garcia isn't if they want to be careful with his pitch count and his outings. But either way, having the luxury of having Jimmy Garcia and Jeff Hoffman being able to close for each other on any given night is a huge luxury, and even Nick Sandlin. So tonight's going to be a very interesting game as it pertains to that. But we also have some other updates surrounding Max Scherzer and Dalton Varsho. Let's start with Varsho. He threw at 150 feet today and felt good per manager John Schneider. Not throwing in games yet, but trending in the right direction. The max he needed to throw will be about 200 feet. Cutoff man can run out further for a bit too. So Varsho's an interesting situation. Obviously, back in spring training, we knew that the initial thought was that he was going to miss, a couple months of the season, but then things started to really ramp up. There was a chance he was going to make opening day. He didn't. They're being careful, put him on the 10-day IL. He's probably going to be coming back fairly soon. And looking at this lineup, the fact that Dalton Varsho, A, one of the best defenders in baseball, but B, really just having a solidified center fielder is going to help this team out a lot. And right now, they've been moving around with George Springer in center field. You have Nathan Lucas in center field. Once Varsho comes back, he's going to take up a lot of the Nathan Lucas at-bats. Now, whether they DFA Lucas or option Lucas and Miles Straw, option Miles Straw, whatever they decide to do there, I don't think Lucas has options. He might have one option left. Let me know down below. Same with Miles Straw. I believe they might have one option there. But regardless of that, it's going to be an interesting outcome for one of those guys, whether that be Straw or Lucas, depending on who has options here. Now, Miles Straw is probably going to get the start tomorrow against Mackenzie Gore because he is better against left-handed pitching than Nathan Lucas is. But once Varsho comes back, this team now, they get stretched out a lot. You have, of course, Bichette at the leadoff hole, Vladdy, Santander, and then after that, Andres Jimenez, Alejandro Kirk. Then you can choose between Springer or Varsho in the 6th hole, and then one of Springer or Varsho are going to be in the 7th hole. And then, of course, you have, depending on any given night, Clement, and then whoever else you want to throw in there again, Lucas, Miles Straw, depending who it is, Alan Roden. So it's going to be, the lineup stretches out a lot with Dalton Varsho, and I think the Jays winning these games in his absence is absolutely huge for this team, simply because you're at a point now where get as many wins as you can. He's such a valuable player. He's one of the most valuable players on the team. So him ramping up should be ready to go soon. We'll have an update on that. And speaking of updates, Scherzer went to the U.S. yesterday and then actually came back for the game in Toronto at night against the Nationals. He visited a hand specialist yesterday and plans to return to Toronto soon to discuss the next steps with team trainers and doctors per John Schneider. We might have an update surrounding that tonight. The hope is obviously he misses a month or two and not the rest of the season or the rest of his career. Again, we might have an update tonight. We're going to keep you up to date with that, but that's a very important one as well, Max Scherzer, simply because you're at a point now where the 5th starter spot, or whatever you want to call it, 3rd or 5th, because Scherzer started on the 3rd game of the season, it's going to be absolutely critical for this team to actually come out and hold up in the meantime. And that's why Easton Lucas starting tomorrow is going to be crucial. And that's also why the other starters who are in the rotation, Berríos, Gausman, Bassett, they need to continue to get quality outings, pitch long innings to help relieve some of the bullpen. And specifically tonight, it's going to be a huge game for Berríos. You want him to go 6 or 7 innings, give the bullpen some rest, specifically Easton Lucas, so then they can give Kevin Gausman a fresh slate on Friday against the Mets, but also give Easton Lucas a fresh slate tomorrow without having to come in. Because if he comes in the night, he's not going to pitch tomorrow, and then everything's going to kind of go haywire from there. Maybe we see a Yariel Rodriguez start, but at the same time, I liked what I saw from Yariel in his setup role a couple games ago against the Orioles. So very interesting on that front. A couple other things before we wrap up. Bowden Francis spoke out on his first start of the season. He said it felt seamless. I didn't feel too jittery. I didn't feel too out of place. I felt like I didn't leave, and he's been fantastic, the best starting pitcher in baseball for the second half of last year. He followed it up in yesterday's game, holding a no-hitter through 6 before giving up 2 moonshot solo shots. But it's going to be interesting. Let me know what your thoughts are. One final thing, Jimmy Garcia, his advanced analytics have been absolutely mashing. I just want to touch on it again. Having the luxury of having 2 closers, really. I mean, Jimmy Garcia or Jeff Hoffman can each close on a given night. Getting him at 2 years, $50 million is a steal. And quite frankly, a lot of the moves, aside from Santander, who's notoriously a slow starter, a lot of these look like finesses for the Toronto Blue Jays. The Andres Jimenez trade, fantastic. You also got Nick Sandlin, who's looked very good, 3 1/3 innings, no earned runs, minimal hits. I don't even know if he's given up a hit yet. Other than that, you also have, of course, the Jimmy Garcia deal. 2 years, $15 million for Jimmy Garcia is also a finesse. But I'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on that, steal the contracts, and also Toronto Blue Jays pitching plans going forward.